Ladies and gentlemen, today let me speak in English for those Korean Americans or Korean overseas citizens who don't understand Koreans, especially on the international topics of trilateral cooperation among Washington, Seoul, and Tokyo amid this kind of South Korea's political crisis coming out of impeachment issues. And many citizens in South Korea are so much, worried, by the judicial processes, going on in the Constitutional Court of South Korea to reach a final verdict on the impeachment, And everybody thinks that this kind of trials going on in South Korea is not fair, and we need more time to investigate and to review all the relevant figures and relevant materials. But the Constitutional Court is going too fast, to reach a final verdict. I don't think many South Korean citizens will admit the result of this kind of final verdict if they are going like this in such haste and very somebody could misunderstand this kind of hasty approaches. So let me tell those who are in a responsible position that we need more time for reviewing and investigating all the materials and the figures relevant to these impeachment issues. And today I'd like to speak on the trilateral framework, cooperation framework among South Korea, United States, and Japan in this time of political crisis in South Korea, especially because since U.S. President Donald Trump was inaugurated, 20th January, all the international issues, especially regarding security concerns in East Asia, is becoming a very sensitive concern to Japan and South Korea. This time, Japanese Prime Minister Ishiba Shigeru had a summit meeting with Donald Trump, and Japan is also pushing ahead with their own security strategies, regarding bilateral alliance with the United States. However, in our case here in South Korea, all the important positions, including the presidency, prime minister, defense minister, and the other some important positions are vacant because of the impeachment, pushed by the National Assembly, especially opposition parties, impeachment trials. So it is very important for us to realize that we must put President Yoon Suk-yeol back to his presidency as soon as possible for securing national security interest. If we look at the content of bilateral summit between Trump and Ishiba this time, we could reach a conclusion that this kind of impeachment process is not helpful for the national interest. On February 6, Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba became the second world leader to meet with President Donald Trump in his second term. And according to the article by the title of A Good First Step, analyzing the Trump-Ishiba summit, which was carried at the Hudson Institute homepage, written by Will Ju and Masashi Murano, this article concluded that the two leaders, affirmed the United States-Japan alliance and deepened bilateral security cooperation as Japan wished. And also Japan tried to demonstrate Japan's commitment to balancing the trade deficit and avoiding tariffs. Also, Japan tried to establish a working and, if possible, personal relationship with Trump. So Despite domestic political difficulties and the high expectations that Shinzo Abe said during Trump's first term, Ishiba was able to achieve these three significant targets out of a bilateral summit. So in a short 36-hour visit, he laid the groundwork for continued engagement within the world's most consequential alliance. So especially regarding the security agenda there, the Prime Minister Ishiba Shigeru, according to the article, achieved some goals and more. In the joint statement, the two leaders recognized Washington's commitment to protecting Japan with U.S. forces' full range of capabilities. This includes extended deterrence, which places Japan under the America's nuclear umbrella. The statement also reaffirmed that Article 5 of the U.S.-Japan Treaty of Mutual Cooperation Security applies to Japan's Senkaku Island, which China claims. This is very important. Also, Japan also recognized its own role in maintaining peace and security in the Indo-Pacific region. Also, Ishiba re-acknowledged the 2015 legislation for peace and security. But former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe spearheaded this agreement, which created the basis for closer U.S.-Japan operational cooperation. But this kind of important talks on security issues is creating a new atmosphere for Japan-United States alliance. So most surprisingly, according to the article in their statement, Ishiba and Trump said that they opposed any attempt to unilaterally change the status quo by force or coercion, especially in reference to the Taiwan Strait. This newly introduced language demonstrate that Tokyo and Washington are focused on China's increasing gray zone tactics, such as the use of a quarantine or a de facto blockade with law enforcement and paramilitary vessels, along with the possibility of an outright invasion of the island. So China is a common enemy. The two countries has to check and balance, I think. Also, the two leaders agreed to advance the operationalization of the U.S.-Japan Security Alliance through Future Security Consultative Committee 2+2 meeting, I think, meetings to implement several initiatives. Key issues include upgrading Japanese and U.S. forces command and control framework, increasing the U.S. presence in Japan's southwest island, and advancing defense equipment and technology cooperation. The latter item entails advancing co-production, co-development, and co-sustainment initiatives to bolster the allied supply chain and strengthen U.S. and Japanese defense industrial capacity. The leaders also agreed to expand the bilateral cybersecurity cooperation by leveraging new technologies such as artificial intelligence and resilient cloud services, a new area in the future. According to the article, the two leaders also additionally agreed that persistent and the President Donald Trump and the Prime Minister Ishiba Shigeru expressed their commitment to existing multilateral cooperation. Also, the statement emphasized the quadrilateral security dialogue, Quad, and the Japan-US South Korea, and Japan-US Australia, and Japan-US Philippine trilateral relationships. But unfortunately, because of the impeachment process in South Korea, South Korea is becoming a missing link out of this kind of important trilateral dialogue. So this is the reason why I am speaking in English, conveying the message to those policymakers and experts on the Korean questions, especially close aides to Donald Trump. this kind of political crisis in South Korea is damaging the trilateral security interest. So we are in a very critical moment, to secure our national interest. As I have analyzed the key issues of a bilateral summit between Trump and Ishiba Shigeru. So I think in the future, as soon as President Yoon Suk-yeol resume his presidency, we have to step up this kind of effort to complement the linking space by having a very important bilateral summit between Washington and Seoul. So as a conclusion, this article is saying that press conferences and one-day summit cannot sustain alliances and relationships between state leaders. American and Japanese government officials will now begin the hard work of implementing these measures to enhance bilateral security and economic cooperation. How Japanese and American forces will establish greater interoperability and how private Japanese firms will expand their purchases of American LNG will be important to ensuring the alliance's ability to deliver results in a challenging and uncertain global environment. Economics and security issues are going together along with not separated nowadays. So the authors are emphasizing in the last paragraph, but they're saying that, but the President and the Prime Minister's report and the positive joint statement demonstrate that both sides recognize the importance of their alliance and will work to ensure its continued success and influence. Very important, conclusion. How about South Korea's, diplomacy regarding this kind of trilateral cooperation framework, Washington, Tokyo, and Seoul as of now. Out of concern regarding North Korea's denuclearization issue, this time I heard that the Japanese Prime Minister emphasized that complete denuclearization of North Korean nuclear weapons should be included, in the bilateral summit agenda, and in the joint statement they expressed their strong commitment to make effort, to denuclearize the North Korean nuclear weapons. This time, I think it is a small relief for us. The two leaders, expressed these kind of concerns. But as we have analyzed several times during the presidential election campaign period, last year, so key aides of Donald Trump and some of them have been expressing some very sensitive, nuclear policies toward North Korea, something like that, going nuclear disarmament talks if North Korea creates some conditions for bilateral talks. Also recognizing North Korea as a nuclear weapons state, but this time, to our relief, the two leaders again emphasized the traditional approach that we have to make effort to denuclearize North Korean nuclear weapons on the Korean Peninsula. Well, ladies and gentlemen, international politics surrounding the Korean Peninsula is going rapidly like this, such as nuclear issues and security cooperation framework, also how to contain Chinese Communist parties, all the aggressive approaches, into our alliance systems in the future. So this kind of impeachment crisis in South Korea is creating all the uncertainties and unpredictabilities regarding our future security policies. So South Korea is becoming a missing link as of now. So we have to conclude our political situation to a normalcy, making President Yoon Suk-yeol back to his presidency, and also join in this kind of effort to secure our national security interest. Okay, thank you. I'll see you next time.